So Season 5 of Diablo 4 is coming on August 6th, but this Tuesday, June 25th, we're getting the PTR to test out a bunch of the new changes that are coming. It's going to last 1 week, and unfortunately, this time it is going to be just PC Battle.net players, but we got a whole bunch of stuff that we get to test out. So this isn't going to be everything that we're getting for Season 5, as we are getting a Season 5 campfire chat later on. But they did go through a bunch of stuff that is going to be available for testing on the PTR. So let's go through it. So as I mentioned, it's going to run from June 25th until July 2nd. So this is actually one thing I didn't notice during the campfire chat is there's a new Eternal questline called the Eyes of the Enemy. So this says Season 5 features a new story where enemies are cut down, alliances shift, and unlikely friends emerge from the shadows. Unlike previous seasons where the seasonal quest didn't really have a whole lot to do with the main campaign, this says that the PTR features a new questline that takes place after the events of the main questline and is available on both seasonal and Eternal realms. Which makes me wonder, is this season, like I had speculated before, going to work as a bridge between the main game and the expansion coming in October? Maybe, but that remains to be seen. Completing this questline will allow you to battle the infernal hordes. Okay, this is the new endgame. The new gameplay activity coming with Season 5. Note that you only have to complete this quest once across your account. So the Infernal Hordes, which is basically a roguelike type system. So it's basically a new dungeon type. It's an activity where you slay hordes while earning burning ether to unlock powerful weapons and rewards. Successfully slay the hordes and you'll be able to fight the powerful Fell Council. And the Fell Council you'll be very familiar with if you've played Diablo 2. You enter the Realm of Hatred by using an Infernal Compass. Hell Compasses can be found by defeating endgame bosses, Hell Tides, Nightmare Dungeons, and Whispers, so you're just going to get them by playing the game. A Hell Compass will be granted to you upon completing the newest Eternal quest. So we get one for completing the story, and then we get more just by playing the game. So Infernal Hordes has time-limited waves lasting 90 seconds each. We collect burning ether during a wave to spend at the end of a successful infernal run. At the end of 90 seconds, we kill the remaining enemies and decide between 3 infernal offers. Once selected, the next wave will begin. And then these offers look like this. They have 1 negative affix and 1 positive affix. So for example, Hellfire rains upon you, which is very similar to Helltide. And then at the end of each wave, it spawns 1 to 3 ether. Successfully slay all waves in the tier you're attempting to advance to the Well of Hatred, then battle the Fell Council. Upon defeating the Council, spend your burning ether on Spoils of Hell. So after defeating each wave, you're going to get 3 options, each with a negative effect and a positive effect. But they want you to choose wisely because the effects that you pick throughout all the waves are going to stack upon all of the previous ones. So towards the end of the run, it's going to get a lot more difficult. And then when a wave is over, you can choose to increase the difficulty to get more burning ether, or you can select a more modest offer if the intensity is too great. And we earn them by slaying ether fiends or ether lords, or by destroying soul spires or etheric masses. Burning ether's earned individually regardless of whether or not you're in a group, and this lets you decide how you want to spend it at the end of your run. So when you finish your run, you get to choose how you want to spend your ether. So as a reward, you can choose a cache of equipment, a cache of crafting materials, a cache of gold, or a cache of greater equipment, which contains 1 item that's guaranteed to be a greater affix item. There's going to be 8 tiers of the Infernal Compasses, which are the items that you use to spawn these dungeon types. And they scale in difficulty and in world tier. So tiers 1 through 3 have 5 waves. And then once you get up to tier 8, it's going to have a maximum of 10 waves. And this tier increases the starting difficulty of monsters and increases the potency of your rewards while decreasing the number of revives. So in this example here, this tier 3 one has 3 revives, the monster levels are 100, and there's 5 waves. There's a bonus chest with guaranteed greater affix drops that cost 250 ether, and the affixes listed here are more legendary items twice, and then more crafting materials. So this is probably what they chose at the 3 different decisions that you have to make at the end of each wave. So we'll be able to get tier 1s in World Tier 3, Tier 2s begin in World Tier 4, and then once you reach level 100 is when you can access Tier 3. And then they talk about the Battlefell Priests, which serve as the boss of this encounter, which, if you play Diablo 2, you're going to recognize these guys as the council that spawned around Mephisto in the Durance of Hate. So there's 5 different council members in total, but each time that you spawn them, you're going to get a combination of 3 of them, which will mix up the fight a little bit. And then after you defeat them, you're going to choose how you want to spend your ether and choose your rewards. So that's the main new mode coming with Season 5. Additionally, there's a bunch of other changes. I'm not going to go through everything because I would be here for an hour, but I will go through some of the highlights. So Season 5 is introducing new legendaries, uniques, and items, which during the campfire chat, they said between uniques and legendaries, there's a total of 50 new items. So they say that these new legendaries and uniques can be earned by slaying demons across Sanctuary, but have the best chance of appearing when playing the Infernal Hordes, which is the mode I just talked about. And then we have some really nice quality of life changes. So endgame bosses, this one's really exciting. You no longer need to reset the dungeon to replay the same boss. So after you kill Duriel, after you kill Andariel, you don't need to run out, reset everything, then go back in, re-clear the dungeon. The summoning altar just reappears, you plop in your mats, and you go again. Additionally, Varshan is now only going to require Malignant Hearts. We don't need the hands, we don't need the femurs, we don't need the heads anymore. So we're going to save a lot of stash space there, and we're not going to need nearly as many items. And then also, endgame bosses are no longer going to drop rare items, but instead you're going to get gold in their place. And then the Beast in the Ice has been reworked entirely, so it's no longer going to function like a nightmare dungeon, but rather it's going to be like the other dungeons for the other bosses, where it's just going to be a short little dungeon, and then you spawn the boss, and it just works the same way as the rest of them. They also say that they're going to make it easier to complete Whispers in Helltide, which is nice. So previously they made it so you could earn Resplendent Sparks by killing the Tormented bosses. Now you can earn one separately in Softcore and in Hardcore if you play both. Resplendent Sparks and Scattered Prisms are no longer automatically picked up, which this was confusing to me at first, but I'm guessing it's because a lot of times they would drop and you wouldn't realize they dropped, so they wanted it to feel a little bit more meaningful when you got a Spark or a Prism. But I'm sure if you don't notice, it's going to go to your stash in town anyways. And now they're referring to Uber Uniques as Mythic Uniques. So if you hear me refer to a Mythic item, we're talking about what they used to call Uber Uniques. But here they say Unique and Mythic Unique items can now be acquired through Whisper Caches, the Purveyor of Curiosities, or Obols, and the Tortured Gifts in Helltide. So for example, if you're looking for a Shaco, you can now go for Helms and you have a chance to get Uniques or Mythic Unique items. So you can target farm those Mythic or Uber Uniques in different ways now. And the chance to find Mythic Uniques through all non-boss drop locations has been increased. So game-wide now, you have a better chance to get Mythic Uniques. Speaking about Mythic Uniques, they also made a change to the color of the items, so now they're going to be this very distinct purple color, so as soon as they hit the ground, you're going to know that's a Mythic Unique or an Uber Unique, not a regular one. And it does come with a distinct sound and colorful beam.
So you can see here, this beam looks, very different than anything else. Isn't that sound, that echoey sound, I love it.
So they also did a pass through all the different weapon types and changed the innate affixes that could roll on them. And they provided this chart here so you know what to expect. And I know another topic that's been highly discussed is whether or not they need to rework the amount of tempering rerolls that you get on items. And they are making one small change for that for now, but they're open to discussion about this further, is when items drop with greater affixes, each greater affix is going to give it one additional reroll. So if you normally get 5 and you get a 3 greater affix item, you'll now have 8 rerolls, which I think is a pretty fair change. You're less likely to brick your really good items, but there's still a chance. And they do want it to feel like there is some level of potential risk while re-rolling these items. So I'm not going to go through everything here because there's an absolute ton of it. So if you want to read through all of this, go to Diablo4.com and you can find it on their news page. And I'm going to be streaming this all next week.